You're listening to Crazy Shit in Real Estate. You'll be amazed at all these wild but true situations that others have found themselves in. Because on this show, you'll hear uncensored, unbelievable stories from the world of real estate. I'm Leigh Brown. Let's dive right in.
I'm Leigh Brown. This is Crazy Shit in Real Estate. And today I'm talking to Nicholas Nick. And yes, that's his real name. Yes, I'm totally going to ask him about it. And we're mainly going to talk about the ways that you can expand your real estate business. And we're going to get to some stories about rentals. Frankly, we talk about everything. If you're not even in real estate, we got you too. So enjoy the conversation and I'll see you on the other side. Are you Nicholas Nick? Nick, is Nick short for Nicholas? I'm going to have some explainers on your name here.
You're good. Yeah. So my full name is Nicholas Nick. And I'm
your parents are hilarious.
Yeah, I know. We're very Greek. I'm actually named after my grandfather, and Ellis Island actually did it to him. If that makes sense. And yeah. They renamed him. His first name was Nicholas, and they renamed his last name to Nick, and it kind of just became a family tradition. Thank God.
All right. So, what was the Greek name that they changed to Nick? Do you know?
It was Socnides. It was the guy couldn't say it, I guess, and he was like, "Yeah, your last name's now Nick," and he changes us. And my funny thing is, my grandfather already lived in America. He just visited Egypt and came back, and he's like, "I already live here." They're like, "We don't give a shit. If you already live here, we're changing your name." Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, that's wild. But now I'm sitting here in my head replaying my big fat Greek wedding with all the Nicks.
All the Nicks, yeah.
Nick.
Yeah, I know. I always say it's so stereotypical, what we did.
But they're only stereotypes because they're quite often true.
They're true. Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Oh.
And it's kind of made me hard to forget. That's not always a good thing.
Yes, it is. It's pretty publicity.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay, well, now that I've got a great story to go with your name, I want to hear about the backdrop before we talk about real estate things. Are you in a video game? Because my son's going to see that and think that you're related to Mario Kart somehow.
Yeah, well, I am a big gamer. But I actually have murals. I'll give you a little tour. I actually have murals all over this is my living room. And that's my front door with the drawbridge.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah, and then I have Greece over here.
Oh, no.
I've got Egypt over here. And then I've got Italy over there. So yeah, like my living room is extra, just like my name. You'll see I'm very consistent with how extra I am and everything that I do.
I don't know. My kids tell me I'm awful to be extra because they call me extra, but I tell them it's better than being basic is what I heard from their language. And they don't like that I said that either.
Really? Yeah, you're right, though.
But my heart is broken because if I were your realtor, I'd have to walk in and look at all that cool art and tell you to get rid of it. And that's just heartbreaking to me.
I know. Well, what's crazy is my house just flooded and these murals just made me $75,000 from the flood. And so it's like, it's such I've actually had them for 5 years and I'm ready for them to go away too, or change them or something. And then the house flooded and it was my biggest check. They almost paid me as much to replace the murals as they paid me for the entire house to be remodeled.
I'm not surprised by the way that insurance works. It's completely the weirdest Ponzi scheme ever.
Yeah, I know. And I came out on top for once because it's been an ugly situation, as you can imagine. But on
behalf of all of us who have never been made whole, we're glad somebody was. So we at least one of our guys got his payout.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the murals used to go to the floor. And then it flooded, and now I have a chair rail.
All right. So, what made your house flood? Was it a natural disaster? Was it pipes and a water heater?
Yeah, I live on the ocean, so the last hurricane that came through flooded. Like my house is actually one of the highest houses. I only got 6 inches. Some people got 5 feet.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of got lucky, I guess. But yeah, as the ocean came in. I wanted in, but it all worked out in the end. I got a beautifully remodeled home now. And
when Mother Ocean comes in, she really can't be stopped. She's come in with whether you want her to or not.
You're gonna see, I was so stupid. I had like towels shoved under the door in the water. So I'm like, what did I think a towel was gonna fucking
Yeah, but I mean, like, show that again with the chair rail because I think people fail to understand that 6 inches of water is not where your repair stops. Your sheetrock and your drywall, the water moves. It's not like it hits concrete, and so you have to take it out above the water line.
That's right. Yeah. 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 We had to take it out 2 feet.
Mm,
I think there's 3 feet at the end of the day, 2 feet for drywall and then 1 foot for repair space,
right.
basically. But,
Well, the
actually,
chair rail looks great.
yeah, no, yeah. Honestly, it actually really helped the room. Like the murals were a little too busy all the way down, anyways. So like it really classed up the joint whenever that happened. So I was thankful for it.
So there you go, friends. When your realtor tells you to neutralize, you might be tired of your murals too, like Nick just admitted to. All right, so tell my audience where. Well, they know you're in a hurricane zone. Tell them where you're located, what you do that's related to real estate, and give them a little bit more of a thumbnail now that we've seen more of your life than we see about most people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're all very welcome. But yeah, so my name's Nicholas Nick. I've been in real estate for almost 11 years now. I had a really unique journey to real estate. I was a restaurant manager for 13 years. And so I have like this really insane customer service approach to everything that I do. Then I was an executive at a real estate education company. So I actually taught people how to wholesale, how to fix. Not that I taught, I was the executive that oversaw people teaching how to wholesale and fix and flip. That was really cool. I did that for 3 years. I even had a chance to work for Dean Graziosi, and I worked for. Yeah, it was very cool. It was very cool. And what I did in that career is direct mail started getting very expensive for all of our clients. Right? They were paying us $30,000 to teach them something. And the first thing we were doing was saying, take $5,000 and send mail, right? And people were spending the last of their savings, right? 35. Yeah, that's a lot of dough, 35K in total. And then they were getting defeated so quickly by the results of direct mail because they're brand new and they need to recoup $35,000 quick,
Right.
right? And so I started implementing cold calling. Because I was like, what's free? Like, how do we stop charging these guys extra money? Like, we need to start teaching them a free strategy. So that way, if they don't have the money for direct mail, we can get them going. And so I started teaching people cold calling. And then little did I know my company was being born at the time. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. As of right now, I own like one of the top lead generation companies in America. We focus on cold calling and text messaging. And I actually offer American callers, foreign callers, text messaging, list pulling, and skip tracing. So when my average client comes to us, they don't have to do anything except pay and tell us what market they're in. And we pull the list, we get the phone numbers, we call it with American cold callers, and we also text message it. And then we look for sellers for them. And I didn't realize I was actually creating this while I was solving the problem of investors in my executive career. So I've been doing this now. The company's called Lead Mining Pros. And I've been doing this now for about 8 years in business. We just started in January. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, so for the normal people who watch my show or listen to it and you're not in real estate, let me give you a quick definition. Skip tracing is when we're trying to hunt somebody down. We're trying to find the phone number. So it's a service that tries to find you. So if you wondered why you moved and you still got a phone call about the house that you owned 2 years ago, it's because somebody used a skip tracer to find you. Now, it's nothing ugly or illegal. And I also want to point out too, we all get irritated when the phone rings from somebody we don't know. But you just pointed out the reason so many new salespeople make phone calls. It's the free thing you can do because your phone has a service on it that makes outbound phone calls. So how about instead of being super mean to the person who's calling you, give them a little credit for being willing to do the job because they were making an effort that many people never make. And that actually tells you something about the willingness to get the job done when they're willing to do the hard work. Because cold calling people is really hard because you're going to get yelled at far more than you find somebody kind. And then the kind people might just be lonely and they want somebody to talk to, and that's fine too. But just give a little grace. And if you're in real estate, I want you to hear what he said about cold calling. It's the free thing you can do. You can actually call people and say hello. And if they say, don't call me anymore, you could say, I won't, and write their name down on your do not call list. Or if they say, I'm on the do not call list, you can say, I'm sorry. and then you better download the updated one so you can be in compliance with the laws. But this is so basic, but I think we've gotten away from basics for fear of getting yelled at by somebody on the phone, or fear of trying something at all, or being afraid of the laws. There's lots of excuses out there, but tell us about the getting started into this space, because I should probably point out, I think it's got to be at least 75% of people in real estate came out of hospitality, because we learned very quickly how to interact with happy people, angry people, and people that won't commit to anything. And I think we do very well because we get it. And you can't complain about your tables. Well, I was front of the house. You can't complain until you're in the back of the house. And the back of the house people don't have any desire to be in the front of the house.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I think you're right. With customer service, it really taught me everything I know today. I spent way too long being a restaurant manager. That's how I felt, like sticking around for 13 years. But then after I became an executive and then owned this business, every problem I came across, I was like, oh, I know the answer to this. Oh, I actually know how to solve this problem. So for when I first left the restaurant industry, I hated myself for how long I stayed. Right. And then as time went on, I was like, man, I can't believe my life is so much easier now because of how long I stayed. Right. And so it's like, so to your point, and the other thing is like grit, for lack of a better term, man, you really, not to get vulgar, but I mean, I tell people all the time, like I literally, 13 years, I've literally had to pick people's poop up off the floor before.
Oh yeah. It's not the glamorous part of hospitality side, but yeah, you do the dirty work as well as the good work.
That's right. Yeah, it's like, people miss the toilet. That's where it didn't happen a lot in 13 years, but it did happen, right? And I remember one time a customer called me at 10:30 at night. I'm watching Netflix. I paused it. I was like, hey, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe you answered. And I simply replied with, brother, you should see what I used to have to do to make money. Okay. Pausing Netflix and sitting on the couch at 10:30 at night is not a big ask for me.
But we act like it is. I still am astonished by how many people are put out when the phone rings and they're like, oh, the phone's ringing. I'm thinking, you're crazy. The beauty is that your phone rang. I'm sitting here thinking, I've missed a call. I'm going to have to call it back after we finish this episode because I want to find out if there's somebody I can serve on the other end, which is just like a restaurant. If your tables are empty, you're going to go out of business. So why would you be unhappy when somebody walks in the door because now you have to work? What are we doing?
Yeah. No, and just so you know, I have a rule with everyone, unless I'm out like with a girlfriend or something. I'm answering if that phone rings. I don't give a shit. And sometimes if I'm out with the girlfriend and my phone rings and we're driving, we're not to our destination yet, I'm gonna answer.
If you've warned her, now the other half of people in real estate gets very upset with how we do tend to look at our phones more than them. So you should say to your girlfriend first, if the phone rings, I'm going to answer it. And if she says, okay, then answer it. And if she says, don't you do it, I need all eyes on me tonight. Then you should say, all right, you win tonight.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So good. All eyes are on you because of the phone ringing, right? At the same time, I tell you, it's a catch-22, but I'm with you. If we're traveling, I gotta answer. That is money. And I'll tell you what, it's not as easy in 8 years in business. It's not as easy to get someone back on the phone, even if they want to talk to you.
Yes. The first time, that's it. That's what you got. It's just like dating.
Right.
You never get a second chance to make a first impression. What's the first impression they get?
Right. That's right. And even sometimes what I'll do, if I am busy, I'll answer and tell them I'm busy and call them right back. So I still have that connection, and I do it on calls all the time. If I'm on a call, hey, let me get this real quick. I'm going to come right back, because it's like, it is that touch. That's like, you killed it, right? A ringing phone is the most important thing. I have friends that say, the downside of answering every phone call is you also answer every spam phone call that comes.
But you know what you can do if it's a spammer?
What?
Hang up.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or put yourself on the DNC too, right? Not that the spammers actually adhere to those things, but I am about to put myself on the DNC list as well. So
I mean, oh, by the way, that's the do not call list for all of you who are still very wrapped up in politics, not the Democrats. This is do not call. I mean, I hate to say that, but everybody's so wound up right now that everything lands in a political silo. That's not what it is. The do not call list was designed to stop a barrage of spam phone calls, but it frankly didn't. It just created different pathways for different technologies to work their way around it, which is typical of any attempt of the government to be helpful.
Right. No, 100%. Yeah, there's workarounds for everything. And man, and I'll tell you, my phone actually has been ringing because I answer every call. These last week, 2 weeks, I have never gotten more. And you know what it is? I think, not that I'm political at all, because I'm not, but I think Trump is, all these policies are changing. And
Sure.
so the phone calls are coming in. They're like, now's your last chance before the administration. It's like every call says the same thing.
Yeah, they
But
needed a script, which is actually the key to a successful calling anyway, is to have a script that doesn't look like everybody else and that you've practiced enough that it doesn't sound like a script. Because my texts, since I'm on the conservative side, they're all like, if you don't respond right now, you're not loyal to the party. And I'm like, I'm not giving money to a text. Stop it. And so I
right.
unsubscribe and I unsubscribe, and then they come back under a different number when they need to take a different approach if people are unsubscribing. So how do you get people to talk to you when they have been barraged by phone calls, whether it's political or windows for sale, or God love them, they applied for a mortgage. And we know what happens when you apply for a mortgage, you get a spam call from every lender in the country. How do you break through that noise so they realize you're an actual person?
So our script is very direct, but I think what matters is how we approach it, right? So like in my script is it literally says sound confused, like when we call them, right? So it's like our script, and my business partner taught me this, and he said you should almost have like papers in the background, So like when you call people, you're like, hi, I'm sorry to bother. I'm looking for of 123 Sycamore Street. Is that you? Also, the other thing is we want to say it slowly, right? So we, as Americans, we default to no. No, click. No, like no, like we can't wait. So the slower we talk in that first intro, the more chance they have to absorb what we're actually saying, and then they can decide if it's right for them. So the first thing breeds curiosity. Hey, I'm looking for the owner of 123 Sycamore Street, right? And now they're like, what's this about? And the other thing is I have Americans. So I think that when it's an American too, they automatically regard it as more of an official call, right? If someone with a heavy accent calls you, like, I don't knock heavy accents, but what I don't like is I don't like knowing whether they understand me or not, right?
That's it 100%. The accent doesn't bother me, but if you can't answer my question correctly because it's foreign comprehension, I am so turned off. But I live in Charlotte. We have all kind of accents here, and they understand and comprehend the language better than some of the natives. I'll just point that out. But it's about comprehension. But the other thing is, if it's a person who's not comprehending, I can hear other people in the background. I can't stand a call from a call center where even if there's a shuffling of papers, I can hear them in the background. Drives me nuts.
Yeah. And just, and that being said, all my employees work from home, right? On top of that. So, there is and first of all, I don't like overhead, so I wouldn't have a building anyways. But they all work from the comfort of their own home. And you're right. When you hear that in the background, right away you're in a machine that you don't want to be a part of, even if it is official, but that's such a great point. The background noise matters. So we go in, we ask them if they own the property, if they've ever considered selling. And then I said, okay, well, great. Well, my name's Nicholas. Well, do you own the property? Yes, I do. Okay, great. Well, my name's Nicholas. And I was wondering, have you ever considered selling before? And I call that casting a wide net, right? Like ever. I don't care. I don't care when, right? Ever in your life have you considered selling? And then we crack it. I call that cracking it wide open, right? You're like, well, now we have this wide net. We're going to crack it wide open. And then we can pick up the conversation. As soon as they say yes, then we go into our qualifying questions that we ask. And the qualifying questions, I always say they're very similar to what you'd expect on a Zillow listing, right? What you'd expect on the summary. General repairs needed, how old's the roof, when's the last time it was remodeled. But I think our real secret might be that American touch, because no one's expecting that,
Right.
and it's like, and they don't really know why. In our call, it's so unassuming. Like we're not talking about cash offers. We're not talking about listing appointments. We're not talking about buy and holds. Like even if they ask, are you a realtor? Are you an investor? Yeah, well, we have a bunch of strategies at our disposal, and we're going to find whatever's best for you. So would you like to answer a couple more questions? And the truth is, nowadays, the average, investor is a realtor. The average realtor understands investing, right? Or has investors anyway. So it is kind of like this. Yeah, they're getting there, right?
That's a stretch. There's some that I'd say it's a minority.
Yeah, no, and you're probably right about that. Most that I deal with do, right? Because in real estate investing, having your realtor license is a powerful tool.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden you have an additional offloading strategy, right? So now retail leads, which are the most common leads in my opinion, but retail leads when you're an investor, now before you're a realtor, you don't do anything with them but send them to your friend that's a realtor. So a lot of them get their license so they can add additional offloading strategies to their properties too.
Is this me or a filter? What I can tell you is that this is me after sleeping on cozy earth sheets. Crazy, y'all. They really do make a difference, especially if you are a lady of a certain age who has night times that go into a million zillion degrees. And I know that if I want to make that better, I've got to prioritize myself. And prioritizing my sleep means using sheets that are good for me, that feel better, and frankly, I work my tail off. I like decent sheets. And the best part is I can give y'all a 40% off code because did you know that if you want to prioritize your sleep, then you can go to cozyearth.com and use my exclusive code real estate and get 40% off not just the sheets, but the towels and the pajamas and more. And make sure that you tell somebody you heard about Cozy Earth from Leigh Brown and her medium-aged Helipause self. So go check it out and prioritize your sleep because you know what? You're going to sleep better with Cozy Earth. Trust me, it's totally worth it, especially when it's 40% off. And I do think that's unique in the wholesaling space. And there's several episodes, y'all. If you want to go back and learn about wholesaling, I've talked to several different people over the years. But if you're new to the show, hey, what's up? Wholesaling just means the phone caller has discovered a home seller who would like to get rid of the property, and they would be glad to take lower than market value and cash with no showings and no repairs just to get rid of it. And there are people in the marketplace who are not equipped for the normal market. They're not equipped to do staging and showings, and life just doesn't work that way for them. So wholesaling can be an option for people. But when you have that real estate license and you can say to that person, this is an option. And if you want to fix it up and do it the regular way, this is a different price. Here are all of the different options. That is a huge advantage in the marketplace. And in fact, if you're a normal realtor who just does residential cute houses, if you ever get the phone call from the house that's just, you might think it's never going to sell, it's not equipped, it's not right. It might, but it's a different type of real estate. So this just allows you to have an expanded offering. But that goes back to hospitality. Is how many options can you bring forward so that people get what they want, which has to be the end goal of real estate. Is the consumer should know every option so that they can get what's best for them. And then we'll all make a living along the way because we showed them different pathways.
Right. And I love that. And to shorten that, options equals customer service, right? Is a great way to think about that. And even on my website, I offer 7 different packages and I offer all of them in 4 different sizes, right? So when you go to my website, it's not like, oh, it's $2,000. That's it. I've got something as low as $82 and something as high as $7,000, right? So when someone comes in, they're not like, oh, well, I can't afford this. Well, yeah, you can just afford the smaller one, right? And it's the same thing with the homeowner. If we only have one strategy we show up with, yeah, it will work, but only a percentage of the time. If we want to increase our percentages, right, we have to add in other offloading strategies or other options for them. And I'll tell you, and I don't have any children now, but I dated a girl with a 4-year-old for a couple of years, which was a lot of fun. And she taught me this amazing strategy. You don't want to go up to the 4-year-old and say, hey, brush your teeth. You want to go up to them and say, hey, so do you want to clean your room or brush your teeth? Right? And so options also help you close, because if it's just one, it's not an option. Okay. And then when they have multiple, they're like, oh, well, I want to choose this over that. And they can actually make that decision. And I'll never forget how good that worked on Stanley, that cute little boy that, she had. And like, you just give him the option and he's arguing if you bring up one thing, but if you bring up two, he's picking one. And I think that is such a great lesson. And same thing when we go to restaurants. You don't go to restaurants and they have one thing on the menu, right? Whenever you walk in, they have appetizers, entrees, desserts. They're all around the world and they got a couple of each. And that is a part of their success is how many options that they offer you and if it's all chicken, well, I don't like chicken, I'm out, right? So it's like we have to think about how can we convert more by broadening our approach.
Well, and the alternative is you can go to a chef's table experience and you will not pick anything. The chef will pick everything and you will pay tippy top dollar, but you're paying tippy top dollar for a specific experience, which means the chef's table is only for a few people who are willing to do that experience. It's not for the mass market. So this goes back to, as a real estate professional, what kind of business do you want? Do you want to have 5 people who want a really specific experience, or do you want a larger business? And neither one's right or wrong. It's just identifying how you want to serve your real estate business. Now, I got to ask you a question about the phone calls that you make. And you mentioned that most of the people you encounter who are thinking about selling their houses, they want to go the retail route. We know in research for decades in real estate, the consumer is most likely to use the first realtor they encounter. They want to work with the first one they had a real conversation with. How do you successfully make that transition when they talk to one of your people working from home who they liked very well, and over the phone they were just peas and carrots, and that person says, I hate to tell you this, but I'm in Florida and you're in Ohio, so let me connect you to somebody. How do you connect those dots?
Yeah. So at the end of every call, we tell everyone, hey, okay, great. So my partner, Sally, is going to give you a call in the next 24 hours. As what we tell them. And then what I tell Sally to do is I recommend all realtors use this line, really all investors or anyone following up with the lead, probably in general, but definitely realtors. And that's because they can take it in any direction. But there's one sentence that everyone should write down, especially if you're a realtor, that you should ask every lead that you encounter. Okay. And that is, so my cold caller's name is going to be at the bottom of the lead. So you get the lead and you say, hey, okay, Sherry spoke to them. So we called the lead. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, you just spoke to Sherry about 123 Sycamore Street. Is that right? Oh, yeah, I sure did. Oh, great. Well, Sherry told me you may be interested in selling, but why don't you tell me, how did you plan on doing that? Okay. So this is such an important question because I think the number one mistake all salespeople make is we don't know where our client is coming from. We don't know what they're thinking to begin. We show up, like you said earlier, with our one solution. Hey, list it, retail value. If that doesn't hit the mark, we miss the mark. And if we miss the mark, we lost the lead. So how did you plan on doing that? They're going to throw up all, hey, up the street, they just sold for top dollar. I want that too. Or, hey, a tree fell on my house 3 months ago and my insurance lapsed. And every time it rains, the mold gets worse, right? They're going to tell you exactly what's going on. And now you can actually convert the lead. You cannot truly convert a lead that you don't know where they're coming from.
Amen. It's not just the motivation piece, it's the understanding piece. I think we conflate the two, and you can convert somebody, but they're going to feel uneasy. But when you understand them, then you're really helping them along that pathway. And I love that approach. And it is very basic sales training that we're probably not doing really well in the world right now of slowing down enough to understand.
And then when they say, well, I want this, well, great. Well, hey, just so you know, I'm actually a very proficient realtor in the area, and I specialize in your needs, right? So it's like now you actually know you can actually add in words or add in language. Oh, wow, I actually specialize in properties just like this. This is perfect. I specialize in getting top dollar, or I specialize in taking ugly houses and making them nicer at a low investment so we can sell it more. So it's like we can now get them. And one thing I'll just share while I'm on the topic of people that I learned in my restaurant career is there's 3 kinds of people in this world. Okay. There's fast, there's friendly, and there's exact. Okay. What you want to do is figure out who you're dealing with ASAP. Okay. Does this person just want to talk for hours? That's a friendly person. Does this person not want to talk at all? He just wants the decimal point to be in the right place every time you talk to him? Then that's the exact person. Or does this person just want you to move at lightning speed and doesn't care how friendly or exact you are? They just want the speed. And so when we speak to our customers type, they are really going to respect us. So first we're asking them, how do they plan on doing it? We know everything about them. Now we're going to get their sense of urgency. One thing I tell all my clients is never outpace your seller. Okay. If you outpace your seller, you're going to lose them. And you know what? Here's the other thing I say, if they want to move fast, you're going to be the first to know. They're going to tell you. So don't start by moving too fast because they're going to think you're getting ahead of yourself. And that's going to feel like a disqualification.
You really do say things much faster than I do because I've been using those 3 different categories, but it takes me 30 minutes to explain it. And you just said fast, friendly, exact. So for all of you who know me, you've been to my presentations, don't you dare tell me to speed it up like Nicholas just told you here. But obviously I'm writing it down because I plan to. So now the whole premise of my show, of course, my listeners, my viewers, they like to hear the what in the world story about life around real estate. So I'd love to know what story you brought with you today that nobody's going to believe actually happened to you in real life.
In regards to real estate or just in general?
It's got to be real estate. This is crazy shit in real estate as a show. So we don't want your crazy life. We want the crazy real estate story.
Yeah. Let me think. Well, God,
Did your show booker not prep you for this? This is the number one thing for my show. It's on every episode, dude.
I love it.
We're going to have to talk about understanding and prepping for the appointment.
That'll be the other one. Oh yeah. No, for me, it's probably my 4 unit I have in Vermont right now. Man, I can't even tell you. I found this great deal and I thought it was, if this unit rents out, it rents out for $5,500 a month, all 4 units. Right. And my mortgage is $1,100. Right. And I'm like, oh, this is a deal, baby. This is a deal. Oh my God. I'm so happy. Then it starts snowing and they're like, we got to play the plow guy. Well, it's in Vermont. It snows all the time. So all these days tick 150, tick 150, tick 150. Okay. And then the tenants all use the same hot water. Right. And then
no.
And then all the heat, you don't know these things. Well, I'm not a big due diligence guy, as you can tell, because of that question. But so then they're all on my heat. And that's not good in the winter to have all your tenants on your heat. Right. So now they're literally heating their units with their windows open. Of course they are.
If they're not paying for it.
Why wouldn't they? Sounds super pleasant. You get the cold draft, you get the hot air, and then a tenant from hell emerges. So I have a woman with 9 children in one of my units. And she hasn't paid rent in 2 years. She owes me like $20,000. And what's funny about these people is I still repair things when she asks them to be repaired. She just got evicted, thank God. But I still repair things when they ask for things to get repaired. But what's funny, what I've noticed about people is we project so hard. Every time I've ever dealt with her, she's like threatening me and doing this. And I was like, her name's Melody. But I was like, Melody, you're living for free and I'm not even giving you a hard time. Could you stop making my life so miserable, please? It's like, you're already getting this gravy train. But what I've noticed is people, they proactively treat you poorly when they think you're going to treat them poorly. Right.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sharing this is the worst thing I've ever been through, having this tenant there. Then we go to sell the property and she's chasing around the new buyer, telling him all of these, literally, it's like a movie. And I was like, ma'am, you've been so blessed with my patience at this point. Why poke the bear? And the truth is in Vermont, it's not a very, another issue. It's not a very landlord-friendly state, right? So I should not have bought this property. Okay. I have not made a dime off of it. I probably lost $30,000 already. And so it has definitely been a nightmare. And I think what the big takeaway is, get a property management company. Don't do this stuff yourself. I thought, hey, I can run $1 million lead gen business. I can handle a 4 unit,
Yeah,
No, you can't.
Famous last words.
And you know what I learned too? My biggest lesson of this property is understanding the value of a night's sleep. My new rule in life is if I'm going to lose sleep over it, I'm not doing it. And when these tenants didn't pay me at first, I got really triggered, and it's like, wow, it's like you really feel taken advantage of when you're not used to it. And then one tenant tells another tenant that they stop paying rent, and then that tenant stops paying rent too. And then there's this weird thing where in the movies, they're like, they can't take us all to jail, And so it's like, they all start teaming up on you. And I also bought this property in a city with only 900 people.
Oh, they all know each other then, and they don't know you.
Right. And they're all the people I have, property management companies, we called them, and they actually know the tenants. And they're like, we are not taking that property while Melody is in it. And I was like, well, I can't get Melody out. And then we did. She's officially going to be out May 18th. Court order. Bam. But super excited about that. But yeah, so that was the worst. This is my worst real estate experience of life. I am never going to own another multi-unit again. I am never going to self-manage a property again. And I'm going to lean into what I actually make money at. And I'm better at running business than real estate. And I thought, real estate was the way for me. Some people have a hard time running 30 employees. I'm way better with 30 employees than I am with 4 tenants. There's something that I've learned.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and call you a liar now because you're going to own real estate again. But what you're telling the truth about is you will never again do it without a property manager before you close on it. And you will be checking the legislative picture of landlord-tenant laws before you buy anything else. Because let's just be honest, a good 4-unit is a great cash cow in the right location with the right tenants, with the right management. And that's why you do want to have all the choices. So, Nicholas, if somebody wants to reach out to you and they're in real estate, they want to know more about your company or your programs, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah. The website is my favorite, leadminingpros.com, and that is with an S at the end. My cell phone number is actually on the website. You guys can call me, pick my brain. You don't have to call me just if you want to purchase. Maybe you have questions about your current leads. Maybe you have questions about me. I'm really an open book. That's my restaurant background, right? You can call me and ask me about my hamburgers without buying one, and so if anyone needs anything, feel free. I have a link to book a call on there as well. So whether you call me live or you book, and I'll give you a link for people to follow me on Facebook. I'm a real hoot on Facebook, and I post all kinds of crazy stuff, a lot of it relative to real estate, a lot of it relative to my life. But most people love following me there, and I'm super available. So I recommend, reach out if you have questions, if you're thinking about even if you're checking out a competitor or if you're asking about something else, you can call me for an unbiased opinion about anything real estate related.
And of course, all of those links will be in the show notes for this episode. So for all of you that are riding down the road, don't stress out. Just log back in. When you give us our 5 stars in our review, go to the show notes to get all the stuff about Nicholas, and you could achieve everything at one time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I enjoyed we started off with some pretty random information and led into some great stuff. So thank you so much for sharing with my audience.
My pleasure. Thank you, Leigh.
All right, guys, make sure you hit the bell to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
By the way, friends, don't miss my brand new coaching program at answers.realestate, where you can have access to Leigh Brown, submit your questions, have them answered, meet like-minded professionals, have an entire library to help you build your business no matter what happens in the market. Get signed up today. I promise you'll be glad you did. As always, I'm so super thrilled that you joined in for more crazy shit. And if you're a realtor, investor, inspector, lender, or just a regular human being who happens to have an unbelievable story that you need to tell the world about, or frankly, you just need to one-up the story you just heard, then make sure to DM me on Instagram at Leigh Thomas Brown, or tweet me at Leigh Brown, or frankly, any social network where you hang out. I'm there. And if you had some fun, then you totally want to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.